life on the screen behind us, along with the star of the film, who you may recognize, Ben Schwartz. Thank you both for being here.
Technology.
That's it. That's it. We never have to fly anybody anywhere ever again.
It's amazing. This is like The Irishman.
Which one of us is De Niro?
Now, I'm just going to remind our audience that just because they're on the screen doesn't mean they can't see you. They actually can see you, so let's all behave.
Hi, everybody. I can see my mom. The camera is literally on my mom in the front row.
This is fun. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for a wonderful film. Can you tell us a little bit, just to start things off, tell us a little bit about where this story came from, where did this script come from, and how you both got involved?
Sure. So I've been, looking for a script to direct for a long time. I started off in film as a producer, and a colleague of mine who I'd done some previous films with sent me this, and I was close to directing something else that was close, but I just couldn't get there, and really ended up just feeling like the minute I read it, it was not a story I wanted to tell, but a story I needed to tell. So I called him the next day, said, let's get this made. And Ben, you can talk a little bit about how you came to the project.
I got the script from, when I got it, Billy Crystal was attached, and I found out that there's a short list of people that Matt had put together for Billy to look at to play Scott. Can everybody hear me? Wow. 2020, guys. And so I was lucky enough to be the one that Billy really connected with. He saw a couple things that I did. He watched this short film I did called I'm a Mitzvah, which is a perfect thing to talk about at JCC. And so he really connected with that. We had a couple meetings, and him and I, along with Matt and the writer Peter Hoare, worked on the script a bunch. And through that, we all said, let's do it. And it was pretty remarkable because to me, Billy Crystal is, an idol, an icon, everything. So to be able to share the screen with him it's amazing. It's incredible.
So that was really, I'd say, one of the strongest elements of the film. I think that must go beyond anything written in the script. The chemistry between the two of you was fantastic. And were you
what
guys...
do you think the weakest part of the movie was?
Well, we'll talk about that later.
Okay, all right.
Offline. But were you guys improvising? How did you work on that that level of chemistry that was going on those scenes? Did you never know when you were able to yell cuts? Was this like something that would just let the two of them go on with whatever they're doing, or?
It was, as you could probably guess, it was a very serious, stoic set. No, we had a lot of fun on it. I mean, I think for me as a director, it's, when you talk in every position, particularly obviously in front of the camera, you hire good people and try and empower them to do their best work, but to hire Ben, to hire Billy, and not give them some freedom to find these characters and to find the truth in these characters would have been really short-sighted. And one of the things I respected so much about working with both of these guys was that, yes, they're brilliantly hilarious comedians, but every choice that we made on this film was about what's best for the film. It was all grounded in the truth of who Marty is and who Scott is. As Ben mentioned, we did a lot of the sort of improv really happened before shooting, and we were really lucky to have that time to work out these characters and to find the story. And then, of course, it's in Indies, so our shooting schedule, we shot this movie in 22 days. We had 10 days with Billy. And so the shooting schedule didn't, allow for a ton of latitude, but anytime Ben, Billy, or really anyone had an instinct or wanted to try something, I always tried to enable it. And I'll just say, because Ben's modest and Billy is brilliant in the film, but one of my first conversations with Ben, I said, look, I know you're looking forward to the prospect of working with somebody that you idolized in Billy Crystal, but Scott's it's a 107-page script. Scott's in 104 pages of it. This is really, so much of this is about Scott's journey, and to have, even in pre-production, I was always more worried about the Scott role in a sense, because I never dreamed that I would be so lucky to get somebody like Billy But I thought that was a part where there'd be an actor that we could find, it was, who could come in, who would work and do it. Scott does some not so likable things in the film, but we still have to be rooting for him at the end of it. And so to be able to, be a very talented stand-up and play bad comedy is really challenging. And then to bring that sort of, to be able to do things that maybe make an audience not root for him and come back at the end and still be so invested in his journey is really a testament to that.
This is so crazy. This is insane. What is this, my Emmy from the 2009 Emmy Award? What is this? Wait, what is this doing here? Anyway, what's your next question?
My favorite part about Ben is his modesty.
Oh.
Ben, I'm sorry, I didn't ask you enough questions. I'll get back to you.
Okay.
So actually, jumping off of that, working with Billy Crystal, and he's a legend, of course. Did you feel that he gave you all the freedom? It looked like that on the screen, that you were able to really hold this, and he was your wingman in some ways.
Wow. What's the question outside of you being very, very kind?
Did Billy Crystal, working with Billy Crystal, did you have a comfortable space there? Was he like, God, no, this is how you do comedy? Was he telling you the whole time?
No, that's so funny. It was never that, but I'm always the one to listen. Like, I'm well aware how fortunate I was to be in this film alongside someone that I watched my entire life. So anytime he talked about anything about the industry or anything I could learn, I was always ready to listen and learn and try to get better. But it was never like that. For some reason, he said it yesterday that we kind of like, we had the same sense of humor. He said that we're singing the same song just on different octaves and we're harmonizing. That's what he talked about when he talked about our comedy. It was so easy for us to do bits and so easy for us to just be ourselves and like find a beautiful rhythm in our comedy that we got to play together. And to hit the improv question, there's a little bit of improv, but what Matt said is right. Right before we shot every scene, we had very little time, so we would go through the scene a couple times, Billy and I, and try to figure out the words and play with them a little bit. So when it was time to roll, we were ready because Matt has a very limited number of takes. It's a very inexpensive film. You only have this much time to get the scene, and then we got to move on to the next thing. So we did all of that in all the little nooks and crannies of time that we had. But he was fantastic, and lucky enough that I got to remain real friends with him afterwards and learn from him, in personal life stuff and in business stuff. He's been a wonderful, wonderful human being.
Tells you where to put the money. Good. Let's take some questions from the audience. We have time for a few questions. If anyone wants.
Mom, do you have any questions? Mom in the front row, you have any questions? Joan Schwartz, I want you to ask a question. Joan Schwartz in the front row, what do you got? Say it again.
We'll pass the microphone around so everyone can hear.
Mr. Schwartz, what were you like as a child?
This is a great question. Wow, this is a great question. I think if you ask my mom or dad, you'd find out I was what would you say I was, Mom? My mom was also my music teacher from kindergarten to 5th grade at PS24 in the Bronx. So tell me, what was I like as a child, Jeremy?
You're throwing it back at me. I think you were always funny. I think you were smiling from being an infant. I think kids wanted to be with you because you treated all of them equally, and that wasn't happening in those times in the school. And I think that it doesn't surprise me that you worked so hard to come this far.
Where's my mom when I do it?
How did you say? That's the nicest thing I think my mom has ever said to me.
We've recorded it. We'll send it to you.
Please, I need that just for me.
We'll be sure to play that on the birthday.
My tinnitus.
Thank you.
I actually think it's actually a relevant point because Ben is a mensch, Billy is a mensch, and on these movies, there's just no room for ego because we don't have the time and we don't have the money. And so while there are lots of challenges in independent filmmaking in terms of lack of resources, part of what's wonderful and energizing about it is everyone is doing it because they care about the work. That's true of me, that's true of the actors, it's true of the PAs, top to bottom, soup to nuts. And there's something that is really freeing about that, and that spirit, you know, when you bring people like Billy and Ben to set and they're really driven and focused on the work, and they understand that everybody's working long hours. You know, there are lots of good movies that come off of bad sets. That there are lots of, you know, really harmonious sets that produce bad movies. But boy, is it better when you can have both. And I feel very grateful to, you know, to our actors for setting that tone from day one.
Let me ask you, where is the movie going from here? After its grand screening at the JCC?
Look, I mean, you can't top it, so we're that's my favorite question. If you like the movie, if you didn't like the movie, but Ben seems like a really nice guy and you want to make his mom happy, please tell all your friends, tell all your enemies, tell everybody. February 21st, it comes out in select cities, New York being one of them. It comes out on demand as well, so your iTuneses, your Amazons, etc. Our trailer dropped yesterday. You can find it on Entertainment Weekly, and that has some more information. And within the next couple of weeks, we'll know more specifics about the theaters. But February 21st is when everybody can see the film.
Your job is to spread the word. Thank you very much. Guys, I want to thank you so much for being here with us. Virtually.
Thanks. I wish we could have been there in person, but I appreciate it.
Well, it turns out we have family members. That's good.